Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Bible Study. We're so glad that you decided to join us. We wanted to just give a few moments for the live stream to kick on, but we're thankful that you have joined us today. It's an exciting time to get into God's Word. It's an exciting time to continue on through God's Word together. Our chapters today are 2 Kings 19, 20, and 21. And in those chapters, we see three things that are life lessons for us. And they come through the lens of the kingdom of Judah and King Hezekiah. So the first one is crisis. Now, crisis came when they were matched up against the Assyrian army, and they were fighting, or at least getting ready to fight a battle. They were encircled around by the Assyrian army. Hezekiah receives this letter. He takes it to the Lord, and he's delivered, right? The angel of the Lord delivers them, right? So that was crisis. Now, it's important to know that crisis is something that all of us deal with, right? Crisis is something that we can't avoid. Crisis, affliction, hardship are all part of life. So that's not something that we can look at and go, see, God will avoid, help us to avoid that or to prevent that. This is the difference between causation and just a casualty, right? So causation usually occurs because there's a cause of something, right? Well, sin is the cause of all of the chaos and destruction and affliction in this world, right? So when Jesus told the disciples that in this life you're going to have affliction, or when we see people in the Old Testament, God's people going through hardship, we have to learn the truth that's being described there. That is a casualty of a broken world, right? A casualty of a broken world in a flawed world is that things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen, right? So what do you do in crisis? Do you go to the Lord, or do you seek other ways, right? Well, we see here in this moment that Hezekiah responded correctly, and the Lord spared him. The second crisis that we see going in the kingdom of Judah and in Hezekiah's life is illness. So in the first part of chapter 20, or in chapter 19, you see the crisis. Then you see the illness coming in chapter 19. And so in this moment, you see him again trusting the Lord, believing the Lord, and the Lord giving him victory over that, right? Again, illness is something that can be put in the category of causation or a casualty, right? It's just a casualty of being in a broken world. Now, we can get sick and can deal with illness because of some of the decisions that we make. But the bigger point here is not whether or not we deserve to be sick, but that can we be spared from illness in this life. And yes, believers can be healed and God can bring us out of those moments, but illness is also something that everybody deals with, right? That is a casualty of a broken world. So in both the crisis and in the illness, we see Hezekiah going to the Lord and the Lord sparing him. But in the third and final moment in his life, the third challenge in his life, at least in this story, was his pride. And his pride was able to get the best of him. And he brought in the king of Babylon and showed him all of the things that they had. And it gives us a valuable lesson as to the danger of challenges. Now, pride is different than crisis and illness. Pride is a causation, right? Now, Proverbs teaches us that pride comes before destruction. The New Testament tells us, right? Peter tells us that the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life is where we are tempted, right? Pride is a terrible thing because it makes us think that we don't need God, right? So the effects of pride, if we don't surrender that to the Lord, would have been the same result as illness or crisis. The difference is pride is something that God says that we're not going to have to deal with. But that is something we surrender to, right? So the reason why the enemy attacks us with our pride, because he wants to try to challenge us to break that. So I hope today that you don't let pride take you from walking in victory. You're going to have crisis. You're going to have illness. You're going to have setbacks. But you don't have to deal with the effects of pride. So I hope that you can learn from the lessons that God gives us in His Word and be encouraged